Hello fellow freaks, geeks, and normies. Today we're going to be doing a Game of the Year bracket, which is completely different than what's going to be going on for the Game Awards. These are all just going to be my own personal picks, but on top of that, it was actually kind of taken from Spawnwave. So this is his bracket right here. If you don't follow Spawnwave, they do a weekday news segment. So if you're into gaming news, that would be a great channel to follow. They also do some modifications on systems, buying old systems, tearing them down, buying new systems, tearing them down, and really going over deep diving into that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's a great channel to follow. And I just basically stole his Game of the Year list and just going to be using it for myself right here. So again, these games, some of them I actually haven't heard of, or if I have heard of, I didn't really follow through too much with it. So without further ado, I'm just going to go through it. First, we have F-Zero 99 versus Starfield. I played a little bit of F-Zero 99. I played 0 minutes of Starfield, but just purely on the basis of community support and overall popular opinion, I'm going to go ahead and go with F-Zero 99. Move them on up. All right, so this is going to be easy for me because I freaking love Liza P. I'm not a huge Star Wars stan, so I'm going to go ahead and just move Liza P up here because I freaking love Liza P. This game was awesome. If you haven't played it, I definitely recommend you go through and play Liza P. It is probably the best non-FromSoft Souls-like game out there. It hit different, you know. It was like I've played Neo, I played Wolong, I played a little bit of The Surge, played Remnant, Mortal Shell. All these sorts of games, they all have their own, like, obviously, like, gimmick to them, but sometimes you don't need a gimmick. You just have to basically copy what is tried and true, which was what Liza P did. They did have a couple new things in there, and they weren't, like, really terrible at all, and they actually added a lot to the gameplay. That's why, you know, I moved Liza P up. All right, so next we have Cassette Beasts versus F-Zero 99. If you're not familiar with Cassette Beasts, it's a turn-based JRPG sort of style game, kind of like Pokemon, kind of fuse nostalgia with these sort of pocket monster looking things. But yeah, that's what Cassette Beasts is. Currently, it is overwhelmingly positive on Steam at 98% positive. For recent reviews, 96% positive overall. F-Zero 99, again, we're all familiar with it. These are two sort of nostalgia-pilled games. And since Cassette Beasts does a little bit more in the sense that, you know, it's just not like you play the races and then you move on and whatever. It has its own little charm to it. I'm going to go ahead and move Cassette Beasts up. All right, then we got Hi-Fi Rush versus Forza Motorsport. I think we all know where I'm going to go with this one. I freaking love the soundtrack of Hi-Fi Rush. The gameplay of Hi-Fi Rush is awesome. Forza Motorsport, although it is a decent game, it's kind of rehashing its own little thing. Not that it's a bad thing. Obviously, Forza Motorsport is like very visually attractive game. It's a racing sim. So, I mean, there's many games out there like that. There's many games like Hi-Fi Rush. But as far as innovation and I guess like good gameplay loop that attracts for me, I would say Hi-Fi Rush. First off, I'm not like a great racing game person. And second off, all these games like this all feel the same year after year. Or iteration after iteration. I'm sure that there's a little bit things different between each one, but for me, it's not really my cup of tea. So, Hi-Fi Rush it is. Move that one up. Then we got Cocoon and Octopath 2. So, Cocoon is a new developer, but they were a part of Limbo and Inside, which I love both those games. Both those games are really awesome. Then we have Octopath 2, which is a JRPG. And just based on, I guess, like innovation and again public attitude and public opinion, I'm going to go ahead and go with Cocoon. All right, Trails to Azure and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I'm just going to go ahead and say Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Street Fighter 6 versus Pikmin 4. So obviously I have more time with Street Fighter 6. I haven't played any Pikmin games, so I don't particularly understand the allure of them. So again, for me personally, I'm going to go ahead and move Street Fighter 6 up. All right, then we got Super Mario Wonder versus Mortal Kombat 1. I was a huge Mortal Kombat fan, back in the day, but I feel like that's kind of like how I was with Dragon Ball and things like that. It's just like something I grew up with, and then I found out there's like better versions of that. And so because of that, I haven't really been playing or really interested in any Mortal Kombat game for the past decade. And Super Mario, I actually haven't played any Super Mario games in the past decade up until Super Mario Wonder, which I've maybe spent 2 or 3 hours in, and it's been super fun the whole time. So I'm going to go ahead and move Super Mario Wonder up right now. Space for the Unbound, which I've never heard of, and Metroid Prime Remaster. Okay, so it looks like Space for the Unbound is a story-rich game. It's about high school sweethearts who are at the end of high school and also at the end of the world, and it seems like a story that I'd actually enjoy, but I mean, I can't say no to Metroid Prime. But for Space for the Unbound, I think that just based off of, you know, the story itself, or what the proposed story is, it seems like it's a pretty unique experience, so I might actually pick this up after this whole video is done. All right, then we got Liza P versus Diablo 4. I've played 0 minutes of Diablo 4, and because Liza P has 0 microtransactions, I'm going to go ahead and put Liza P up. All right, so this brings us to our top 8, it looks like. So our top 8 on this side of the bracket, because again, there's another side of the bracket right here. There's a total of 36 games on this whole bracket. I'm going to go ahead and go through this right now. Again, this is purely based on my own personal experience. I'm going to go ahead and go with Hi-Fi Rush, although seeing this list and seeing how many positive reviews Cassette Beasts have, I might have to check that out. Sorry, Cassette Beasts. All right, then we got Cocoon versus Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Purely based on how well the Nintendo team was able to make a game for the Switch and have it be that sort of innovated with the Ultra Hand, I'm going to go ahead and just move Zelda Tears of the Kingdom up. Again, just purely based on the innovation of the Ultra Hand and what you can do with that. Okay, we got Street Fighter 6 versus Super Mario Wonder. I'm actually going to move Street Fighter 6 up on this one, mainly because like Street Fighter 6 is, to me, it's like the most user-friendly fighting game out there. So to give an example, there's an Overwatch or an ex-Overwatch pro, his name's Super. He got into Street Fighter 6 and he used one of the new controlling schemes, which is called Modern Controls, and he started playing it with Cammy. I watched his silver gameplay, bronze gameplay, all the way up to when he actually made diamond. I don't know what rank he's at right now, but you know, for a player who never picked up a fighting game, like I'm pretty sure this is probably his first fighting game that he actually spent more than, you know, 2 hours on. Watching his journey and having him understand like, oh, because I don't have to worry about these input errors or anything like that, and I can kind of just do like quote unquote easy mode, although there are drawbacks to like some damage things and some certain buttons you can't press in modern controls. He was able to get a more fundamental understanding of the game. So he was playing footsies better. He was punishing things a little bit better. That normally players are worried more about like execution of combos and things like that, where the modern controls just take care of that. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and move Street Fighter 6 up. And I'm sure that he's not the only person that has ever experienced that. All right, Metroid Prime Remaster or Liza P. Liza P. I'm like, Liza P is up there, man, for me. I'm like, I see Liza P going up pretty far, because we are into games that basically I've played all these games except for Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And because of that, we are in our top 4 right here, Hi-Fi Rush versus Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So let's move this on over a little bit so we're not just looking at nothing. Hi-Fi Rush versus Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Again, for me, Hi-Fi Rush. It's just, you know, even though the Ultra Hand is a marvel in the engineering of the Nintendo team, Hi-Fi Rush is just a classic, fun time, feel good story. Like, it's just, you play it and you're just happy, you know. I feel like in Zelda you kind of have to find your own happiness in that sort of thing, where it's like, oh, I want to build this, I want to do this, which is awesome, but that's just not me. I need things, I need pictures in my books. I needed someone to show me the action. All right, then we got Street Fighter 6 versus Liza P. And man, this one's actually pretty difficult because all those reasons I was talking about how great Street Fighter 6 was, you know what? I'm going to go with Lies of P just because of the different endings. One of the endings is really kind of messed up and that sort of morbid ending kind of gets me a little bit. I don't know. I'm into like horror and things like that. So that ending was like pretty crazy. The teaser at the end of the game was awesome. The gameplay was great. The amount of weapons you can kind of create in this thing is like, it's actually pretty insane. So Lies of P, I'm gonna have to go with that. On top of that, it has a really awesome soundtrack. Like, yeah, I'll have to play a little bit of one of the soundtracks right here, actually, so you can kind of listen to it. All right, so then we have Hi-Fi Rush versus Lies of P. So this is going on to, this is the semifinals or the finals going into the grand finals right here. So Hi-Fi Rush versus Lies of P. Both of them have really awesome soundtracks. One of them is, as far as gameplay goes, one of them is definitely a little bit more, I guess, like difficult. Although things can get pretty difficult in Hi-Fi Rush as well. But that's, you can turn the difficulty down, whereas Lies of P, you can't do any of that. If I were to pick between these two, man. Okay, so I thought about it for like 2 minutes or so, or maybe longer, and I'm going to go ahead and move forward with Hi-Fi Rush, and it might seem like a odd decision maybe to you, but the thing that gave Hi-Fi Rush the edge is actually because they have a black cat, and I have a black cat. It sounds stupid, but you know, gotta rep the black cats. So Hi-Fi Rush makes it into the grand finals. Lies of P goes away. There is a cat in Lies of P. It's like an orange cat or something. It's not part of the gameplay at all, other than you can pet it. But anyway, without doing like a full-on review of both of these games, Hi-Fi Rush wins. Great soundtrack, and it has a black cat and fun gameplay. All right, now we move on to the second half of the bracket. Humanity versus RoboCop. So I'm going to move forward with Humanity. This is a game I actually 100%ed this year, and it was actually like really fun. It's basically a new take on Lemmings, and it was very self-fulfilling. It makes you feel smart sort of game. Or RoboCop, I've heard mixed reviews of. I don't think I'm really that interested in playing that. I'm not a huge RoboCop fan. If I was, maybe, but even then, just hearing how people are enjoying the game just purely based on, oh, they said that one line, that's not really a big of a sell to me. So now we have Star Ocean Second Story and then Final Fantasy 16. I know very little about both of these games, other than the Final Fantasy cast was awesome. So that's my own knowledge of the game. I'm gonna go ahead and move forward with Final Fantasy 16. And I totally forgot I didn't do Dead Space versus Humanity, so let me go ahead and do that. So Dead Space versus Humanity. I didn't play Dead Space this year. It is on my list of games to play because I did play 1, 2, and like half of 3 back in the day. And I know they did a couple of quality of life changes to Dead Space. Now, personally, I do think I would like Dead Space more, just because, again, I'm kind of into horror stuff. So because of that, and because it was just a great game to begin with, I think the remake just made it better. Then we got Dave the Diver versus Ghost Trick. I know of all of the controversy with Dave the Diver, but I'm going to go ahead and move Dave the Diver up. Even though I heard great things about Ghost Trick, I don't think it's a game for me. So it could be a game for you, and I'm sure that there's many people who enjoy Ghost Trick over Dave the Diver, but for my own personal tastes, I think Dave the Diver moves forward. All right, then we got Shadow Gambit versus Baldur's Gate 3, and I'm not familiar with Shadow Gambit, so let's go ahead and take a look at what that is. Oh, actually, I've seen a couple of things about this game. It's a tactics game. Currently 98% recent reviews and 95% all-time reviews on Steam. Tactics strategy game, and it looks like obviously it's killing it in that genre. I just feel like Baldur's Gate 3, like you can't say no to that. So we're moving that one up. Alan Wake 2 versus Sea of Stars. Again, Sea of Stars is a game I completed, and even though I've completed it and I haven't even touched 1 second of Alan Wake 2. It's gonna sound weird. I'm gonna move Alan Wake 2 forward just because of all of the channels I watch on YouTube. They praise how kind of insane things kind of get in that game, and I'm very interested to see what that's all about. Sea of Stars, although it's a fun gameplay loop and I enjoyed it a lot, enough to like spend another 20-25 hours to fully complete it, it kept me going based on like just sort of, again, like a fun gameplay loop, but it didn't blow me away with like the story or anything. Maybe if I played the Messenger I would get a little bit more out of it, but Alan Wake 2, I think, yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and move that one up. Although Sea of Stars does have a really awesome soundtrack, and part of that is maybe I'll play a little bit of one of my favorite tracks right here while I get into the next little bits right here. Hogwarts Legacy versus Armored Core 6. Yeah, Armored Core 6, that's like no contest. No contest for me. I don't even have to say anything about that. Blasphemous 2 versus Resident Evil 4. I haven't played Blasphemous 2. I did play Blasphemous 1, but purely based on how great of a game Resident Evil 4 was back in the day, I'm going to go ahead and say Resident Evil 4 moves forward. Okay, now we have Assassin's Creed Mirage versus Super Mario RPG. So both of these are doing something where it's kind of like, oh, I'm going back to my roots. Although there's only, I think, one Super Mario RPG. Assassin's Creed Mirage, I was never an Assassin's Creed fan, so I'm gonna go ahead and move RPG up because back in the day I did play this for a couple hours. I never beat it, but it was a very fun game at that time. Now we move on to Mario RPG versus Spider-Man 2, and yeah, I'm gonna move forward with Spider-Man 2. Dude, this game, once it gets its teeth into you, you just have to keep on going. That's the sort of game that Spider-Man 2 is. Now, Dead Space versus Final Fantasy 16. I'm gonna go ahead and go with Dead Space, just because, again, so even though I haven't played either of them, it's just Dead Space, the atmosphere that was in the first game, just being made better. I think that is a game that I would have a lot more fun in. Dave the Diver versus Baldur's Gate 3. Hey, look, 2 independent games. Baldur's Gate 3 will move forward purely based on, again, word of mouth, public opinion, all that sort of stuff. Again, this is the top 8 on this side, I believe. Okay, now we have Alan Wake 2 versus Armored Core 6. And even though I was praising Alan Wake 2 about how crazy it can get, I can't say no to Armored Core 6 right now because that game is just really fun. It kind of did what Nier Automata did back in the day, where that's not the true ending for the first ending. You have to play it a couple times to kind of get the true ending, let's say. But on top of that, the gameplay is just high action, fast paced, and although the customization of the AC itself wasn't like as great as it was from former iterations of the game, the amount of weapons you can use in this, again, not as high variety as former Armored Core games. The different builds you can do and all the nuances really shine through on Armored Core 6 this time around. All right, this one's actually a hard one because this is just like a better version of an older game, and this is sort of the same thing except more recent. I think I'm gonna go with Spider-Man 2. So on this one, it's like the same thing I said in my Game of the Year nomination video. Both these games I think have the weakest legs to stand on as far as like the Game Awards nominations go, because Spider-Man 2 didn't like reinvent the wheel with anything, and I don't think Resident Evil 4 did with that in mind as well. The only thing that Spider-Man 2 added was like, I don't know, like the web wings, which was fun, and a couple new powers and things like that. But yeah, it was a fun game, and it really, again, got me addicted to it for the time that I did play it. Okay, now I have Dead Space versus Baldur's Gate 3. I think I have to go with Baldur's Gate 3 right here. I've not played either of these. This is purely based on the idea that Baldur's Gate 3 is like an amazing game, and you can basically do whatever you want. We got Armored Core 6 versus Spider-Man 2. I'm going to go ahead and go with Armored Core 6. Which puts us to Armored Core 6 versus Baldur's Gate 3. So for me, my own personal opinion, and it's crazy that I even do this because I played 0 minutes of Baldur's Gate 3. I'm going with Armored Core 6. Yeah. I have to think about being true to myself. All right, that's all it came down to, is what kind of person am I? Am I do I enjoy all the choices I can make here, or do I just want to gun things down? And I think I think Armored Core 6 got it for me. All right, and because I have no better way of doing this, I'm just gonna zoom in on the names because I didn't make a proper graphic for this. Armored Core 6 versus Hi-Fi Rush. These are my grand finalists for Game of the Year. Okay, so for me personally, even though Hi-Fi Rush has a black cat, Armored Core 6, I think it wins it for me. It just edges it out based on the story was like pretty okay. Same thing with like Hi-Fi Rush, but Armored Core 6, what really pushes it over is that I spent quite a bit of time in the photo mode, which I almost never do in video games. But that game like gives you the opportunity to slow things down. Spider-Man did the same thing where I spent a little bit of time on it, but Armored Core 6, since I played it on PC, I had to live a lot more freedom with like the very easy sort of photoshopping I could do in photo mode. So Armored Core 6 wins it out just purely based on that. It, like, not only was it a great game, told a great story, was just a really fun gameplay loop for me, but man, the screenshots you can get in that game are like cinematic. They make you feel like when you make a really good screenshot, and it made you feel like a badass when you when you would kill something and then you pause the game and then you can free roam and do that whole thing. Yeah, that was really cool. They stage all these photos for you pretty well. Hi-Fi Rush, I don't even know if they have a photo mode, but even then, it's weird to even say that photo mode made Armored Core 6 went out. But yeah, I think Armored Core 6 is my own personal game of the year. Wow, I found out something new about myself today. That's pretty fun. That is it for today's video. If you enjoyed the content, please feel free to like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below with your personal game of the year. Where do you feel like I was misled? Was the bracket rigged to make Armored Core 6 win? What game do you think that you would have picked for your own personal game of the year? Leave all that stuff down below. I would like to hear your thoughts on that. And if you want to catch me live, I do play most of these games. I played Armored Core 6 and Hi-Fi Rush and basically all these other games live on Twitch. I am live Thursday through Saturday evenings and Monday evenings as well. And yeah, that's basically it. So hopefully you had a good time. Hopefully you found maybe a game that you weren't really interested in like I did. I didn't know that I would be interested in cassette beasts, nor did I think I was going to be into A Space for the Unbound. Like those two things, like I might pick up some new games, which is really awesome. Great timing now that, you know, Cyber Monday and all those sales are basically done now. But until then, I'll see y'all in the next one.